Welcome back. Now, last year, Ireland placed second in the Global Life Work Balance Index. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Sounds like a good
But we're going to find out.
Yes.
Yes.
Join us now to share all of our expertise on Ireland's workplace landscape and what really makes a happy work environment is author Aoife O'Brien with her brand new book. Congratulations. It's called Thriving Talent. It's your first book. Why'd you write it and what's in it for us?
Good question. I've always wanted to write a book since I was very young. Now, I thought that book was going to be a novel. I was really into the writing and coming up with stories. As time went on, I kind of changed my mind. And I was like, I think I need to write this business book. So I wrote this book as the book that I wish I had, and I wish that my leaders had had. It's about creating psychological safety at work. It's really about creating the conditions for leaders, helping leaders to create the conditions for their employees to do their best work.
Okay, so we're living, I don't have a LinkedIn. You know, my mates talk about their LinkedIn and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, I haven't a clue. Because when you talk about leaders, I'm like, so you're talking about managers, right?
Managers,
so
yeah.
old school. There's all this new terminology, kind of American terminology that comes into this. What did you say? Psychological safety. What does that mean?
Psychological safety is feeling okay to speak up without fear of consequences. So it means that if there is an idea that you want to share, that you feel okay speaking up and saying, hey, I've got this new idea for the show, that you're not worried that it's going to be downplayed or that people are going to laugh at you or something like that. So if you've got too much work on, for example, that you can push back in some way to say, hey, I've got too much work. Or if someone's doing something that goes against the ethos of the organisation, that they can actually say it to someone.
Okay, so when we said there that we place second in the Global Life Work Balance Index, is that a good thing?
That sounds good to me, yeah.
Right, okay.
I haven't seen that research, but that sounds good.
Okay, so that we're trying to get, because people talk about work-life balance all of the time.
Yeah.
And that kind of people want different things, that we used to live to work, now we work to live, or, you know, all these sorts of things. Have you seen a change in the workplace over the years?
I have. If you think back, I suppose, you know, my perception sometimes can be from, you know, TV shows and things like that. Like, you have one job and you have that job for life. But now I think people have more options than they had previously. I think we're looking for different things from work. We're looking to be fulfilled through the work that we do. So it's not just about showing up and going for the paycheck. It's more about how can I actually be happy? How can I fulfill my potential? Like, that's a big thing that people are talking about. How can I fulfill my potential at work? How can I do things that I'm really good at, that only I am uniquely capable of doing?
And what about, you know, this quiet quitting idea that's been kind of touted around the last number of years? How does that kind of fit in with, you know, busyness was a badge of honour. You say it there very early on in the book, you know, how are you? Yeah, busy. You, yeah, busy. And like for someone like myself who's not working full time anymore, you almost feel when people go, what are you up to? You feel a bit bad going, it's kind of like just kind of the normal stuff. Like, I'm not that busy anymore, but I'm so used to being flat out for 20 years that to now say, actually, I'm just kind of home more, dipping in and out. So like, are things kind of evolving? Is there like, we're not kind of using that busyness badge as our badge of honour?
Well, there's so much I want to say about that. This whole busyness of as a badge of honour, it still exists. You know, you still talk to people and are like, I'm busy. And that seems to be the perception, like you're in so many meetings and therefore you're somehow more important.
Yeah.
All of these things. So that still exists. But I think there is a shift more towards how are we less busy and focusing on the impact that we're having at work and the things that really move the dial in business as well.
Because it's different busynesses, like there's different levels of busynesses that you go into.
Absolutely. I think there's busyness and there's kind of busyness for busyness sake as well. Like, I'm avoiding something else or I'm just keeping myself busy so I don't have to think about what it is I really should be working on.
Are we going to see a crisis in professions? Like, we're talking about, we can't get enough teachers, we can't get enough GPs, we can't get enough guards. Like, we've got issues. So what do we do here? Like, you can't all of a sudden change a complete job and the ethos of it to kind of go, well, we have to try to get you more fulfilled. Like, has that changed a little bit? Whereas, like, I know my father always says, I work to live.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy my life when I leave my job. And there's not a lot you can do about certain jobs, right? That is just what they are.
Yeah, yeah. And I think going into those kinds of jobs, people know, maybe they don't know what to expect. I mean, I know people who work in the Guards who it ended up not being quite what they expected.
Yeah.
And then it's looking at, well, what are my options here? And I think painting a real picture of this is what it's like to work here, I think would solve a lot of that. Like, what is it that people want to get from their work? And if it's in service of others, which a lot of those professions that you're talking about, you know, the guards, or whether it's teachers, or whether it's, you know, working in the medical industry, that's in service of other people. And I think having that sense of purpose is something that really helps to drive that sense of happiness at work.
What about this idea of the motherhood penalty? Is that as present as it's always been? Are kind of circumstances improving for mums in the workplace?
Really good question. For me, I'm not sure that it is improving. So I don't have kids myself, but I can see all around me that penalty. And it happens for so many different reasons. I think there are reasons, like internal reasons for ourselves, which I'll talk about in a second, but then there's the systemic. And the systemic reasons are what I focus on in the Thriving Talent book. So it's creating those conditions. And the conditions for women specifically, do we have those role models that we can look up to? Do we have people who are advocating for us in the rooms that we're not in? And do we have people really supporting us and mentoring us at work through those positions, through navigating politics, all of those kinds of things? And then from an individual perspective, do we have the confidence to speak up and to advocate for ourselves? Or are we holding ourselves back in some way, saying, I don't deserve this, or who am I to do this, or who am I to put myself forward? Or I can see how busy my boss is. I don't want to be that busy, and therefore I'm not going to go for that position.
In all your years, I know you've got a podcast as well, Aoife, but in all of your years of working at this, what is the thing if someone's at home now and they're kind of a bit dissatisfied with work, with some sort of workplace situation? What would be your advice for them?
I think if someone's not happy, it's like you can understand what's really driving that. What is driving my unhappiness at work? Is it a mismatch in how people behave in the workplace and I'm not really in agreement with that? Is it something like I don't have the opportunity to work to my strengths on a day-to-day basis? Or is it something more about the environment? Is it your boss? And I'm sorry to say, but the difficult thing is you're going to have a conversation about that and say to someone, like, it's a short-term bit of discomfort for the purpose of longer-term satisfaction.
What do you say to your, how do you approach that?
How do you even start?
But where do you start? Like, how do you approach, if you have to have a serious conversation?
I think you could say, listen, if you want to get the best out of me at work, here's how I perform at my best. And so one of the really common things is having a micromanaging boss. So that's really common. And it's really difficult to get into that conversation. You don't want to say to someone that they're a micromanager, but you could say, how I do my best work is if you explain to me how things are done and then leave me to do the work to the best of my ability. The other side of that is not getting enough direction. So your boss just kind of doesn't really tell you what you need to do at all. And what you can do there is ask for clarification.
I think that's a great entry. I do my best, Muireann, when I have a good night's sleep, which I didn't have last night.
I can't help with that. I can drop you in a melatonin. I can come overnight, open your mouth and shove it in.
A few magnesium. Anything. Do you know, that's really interesting, Aoife. Congratulations. The book is Thriving Talent, out now.
Yes, this is it. The brand new book here, Thriving Talent, How Great Leaders Drive Performance, Engagement and Retention. That was very interesting, Aoife. Thank you so much for joining us, Aoife O'Brien.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on your first book.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Fantastic. Now, this fella,